Hey, I wanted to share a short little video on some things that I've learned about the common advice taxing the rich and kind of how my opinion differs based on things I've learned. And I don't want to change your opinion or I'm not going to argue. I just want to share some of the things that I've learned that have kind of changed my mind about it. So the first thing is when you think about these really rich billionaires, the first thing that you need to understand is the difference between income and net worth. So their income is actually quite small. I've got the numbers written down here. Jeff Bezos gets paid by Amazon around in 2020 it was $84,000. So he's not making $1 million. It's not coming into his bank account. He's just making a humble $84,000, at least for being a billionaire. And secondly, if you don't know who Elon Musk is, he owns Tesla and SpaceX, and there's a few other stuff he does. And his company paid him $56,000. So again, that's not even over $100,000. He's not making $1 million in personal income. And lastly, we have Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, and you might assume that he gets paid a lot. And his company, Facebook, actually only paid him $1 because they're legally required to. So these people their income is not a huge amount. They're not making tons and tons of money. They're getting paid normally what someone else might get paid for doing their job. But so when we think about billionaires, we think of these people, Jeff Bezos, Elon, and Mark Zuckerberg. And so when it comes to this, it is basically the difference between income and net worth. So income is they're not getting paid much. They're getting paid less than $100,000 a year each. But their net worth is substantial. It's huge. It's worth billions of dollars, quite literally. And there's this little analogy that I wanted to share, and it's let's say I bake a cake. So this is analogous. This is an analogy for the businesses that they have created. So if I bake a cake and it costs me $4 or $5 to do it, but I've got the skills and the knowledge, and I put some practice in, and I bake a cake. And let's say someone comes along and they go, "Wow, that is an amazing cake. I would pay $1 million for one slice of that cake." And it's whenever that is basically stocks. So they build these companies and then they sell portions of the company as stocks. That's literally what a stock is. It's a portion of the company. And so let's say half the cake, I divide half the cake up and I go, I'm going to sell half of this cake. Each slice is going to be $1 million. And so you do that. And so on the business's balance sheet, that business has a couple $1 million to continue. If I was a baker, I would have a couple $1 million to make more cakes because the cake was so good and people valued it so highly that they would pay that much. That doesn't mean that I was getting paid. It means the business was getting paid the cake's income, so to say. And to continue this analogy, it's I shouldn't be taxed for me owning the other half of the cake. If I own the other half of the cake and people think it's worth a whole bunch, I shouldn't be taxed for it. And that's exactly what these stocks are. They own Jeff Bezos. When you say he's a billionaire and he has a whole bunch of money, he doesn't have a whole bunch of money flowing in. He just owns something that other people are wow, that thing is super valuable. I would pay for it. And so he shouldn't be taxed on that. He's not, he's a billionaire, but it's only because what he has other people think is worth $1 billion. If you look at his net worth, it's almost like Jeff Bezos, it's all in Amazon. If you look at Elon Musk, his net worth, all in SpaceX and Tesla and this company. It's net worth, it's not income. He's not getting paid billions and billions of dollars. And so when you say tax the rich, what I have found, I've started learning a little bit about tax stuff. I'm making a little bit more money trying to, one little trick could save you tens of thousands of dollars. So you start to learn these little tricks. And what I have learned is, the more that I learn about the tax structure and how it works, the less of an opinion I have on it. It's people that have huge opinions, they don't know anything about it. And so the more you learn, the less your opinion is. And so I wanted to share this. When people say tax the rich, it's how they're going about it is wrong. You shouldn't be taxing the rich because the rich are getting taxed just like everyone else. And you might ask the question, where do these people get all this money from? It's you see them living a luxurious life, really cool cars, and they go out to fancy dinners, and they hang around all other billionaires. Where do they get it from? It's people pay them money. Someone's hey, I'll pay Jeff Bezos 10 grand just to go and have dinner with him. And that's how he is able to go on these really nice dinners and stuff. And jets, people will pay for that jet for him to fly somewhere. So of course he's a billionaire and he's able to do all that kind of stuff, but it's not his own money that he's spending. It's other people thinking that he's valuable and the thoughts that he has and then paying for that. So that's how they're able to live luxurious lives. And then of course there's other tax tricks like the Augustus rule. And if you don't know what the Augustus rule is, it's really sad that you have an opinion on how tax structure should work if you have no idea what the Augustus rule is. It just shows that you have an opinion without doing any research. And it's the Augustus rule is fairly simple, and it's how you can use your house as a tax advantage. But again, if you don't know how that works, like, you really shouldn't have an opinion on taxing the rich. And so as I started learning these things, my opinion on taxing the rich has changed. And it's like, they're getting taxed just like everyone else. What you mean when you say tax the rich is that no one person should be this powerful. And saying taxing the rich is like you should be saying no one person should be as powerful as that man, because he might be wealthy, he might have a bunch of like control a lot of money, but what he really is just has a whole bunch of power. It's like when it comes to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, it's like they are in the positions they are at because they baked a really good cake. Like, everyone uses Amazon, everyone uses Facebook, people love Tesla. Like, they just baked a really good cake and sold it. And so, like, they have some of the cake to themselves. They kept half their cake, and that is their stock, that is their net worth, that is how they are billionaires. And of course, anytime they want some money, they could just sell some of their stock for capital gains. But like, that's a whole other thing. If you don't know what capital gains are, like, don't have an opinion on tax the rich, because you make yourself look foolish if you haven't done the research. And again, I try to make these videos for myself in the future to watch and learn something. And if there's anything that I can get out of this tax the rich like little idea, it's that don't have an opinion about anything if you haven't done your research on it. So I've done all kinds of research on taxing the rich, especially in like tax structure and stuff. And that's basically what I wanted to share in this video is like, when you say tax the rich, or when most people say tax the rich, what they mean is don't let anyone become too powerful. Anyways, thought this was a cool little video. I think I covered everything here. There was something cool that I wanted to share about like the tax structure in the 1950s. So we actually had a huge high tax percentage in the 1950s. We actually taxed people at 91%. So if someone made $100,000, they would only get to keep 9%, like $9,000 of that. What happened then? Well, the IRS was getting started then, and we actually, like, they started writing the IRS code. It was 11,000 pages at the time. The first page was saying, hey, if you make any money, you owe the government some. The second page of that IRS structure was basically saying, if you make this much money, you owe this much. If you make this much money, you owe this much. Like, the tax code. All the other pages, all other, like, 10,998 pages were exceptions to that. So, like, when you start learning about the exceptions, you start to understand a little bit about how the tax code actually works and why taxing the rich will not work. Like, we can't tax the rich. They're actually getting taxed right now. Like, when you say tax the rich, they're getting taxed. What you really mean is don't let anyone become that powerful. And so, like, I've learned a lot from just researching this stuff, and I wanted to share what I learned. Again, I'm not pointing anything out. I'm not trying to argue here. I'm just some things that I've learned that I wanted to share with you. And again, these videos may go on Facebook. They probably go on YouTube. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Remember, don't have an opinion about anything unless you do a decent amount of research. And research isn't watching other YouTube videos. Research is like spending time reading stuff, learning stuff, reaching out to experts. Like, I've talked to multiple tax accountants. I've learned some of this stuff. So, like, don't have an opinion unless you have done the research. Because if you do have an opinion but you haven't done the research, you look like a fool. You don't mean to tax the rich. That's not going to solve the problem. The problem is that you don't want one person to be that powerful. And that's what you should be saying. And that, like, saying tax the rich, that's just a slogan. What you really need to be doing is coming up with answers to not let someone be that powerful, or to share their power with what the real problem is like, we don't want people to be way poor, way down here, and that's the real problem that people are trying to solve. Anyways, I wanted this to be a short little video, but it kind of turned into a rant. And again, I'm not like pointing anyone out. I'm not saying that you're wrong about thinking about this. It's just some stuff that I've thought of and things that I've started learning, and hopefully I shared with you. Anyways, I'll see you guys in another video. It's 8.5 minutes long. It's a pretty long video. I'll see you guys later.